This afternoon, it's a pleasure to introduce someone else who will do the introducing. This time, it's Anne Marie Work's turn to introduce her husband. I'm sure you're going to think he is on a par with her. We don't want to get him into a marital discord or anything over this, but Richard, we're glad a spot opened up for him because I think you're going to find his work most interesting. First, you remember Anne Marie Work, don't you? From all the way back this morning.
I met Rich Work 9 years ago, and he changed my life. A little bit of that you heard about this morning. I was still experiencing some symptoms of multiple sclerosis, and he said to me, Anne Marie, I know that you are releasing your negative emotions so that you can get to the root of this degenerative condition. When is your gas tank going to be empty? I said, what do you mean? He said, that's your energy. That's your energy, and it's useful energy. Why don't we turn those negative emotions back into their positive state and allow them to heal you? And he taught me what is known as the art of transmutation, which is truly spiritual alchemy. Understanding that you can take any disharmonic energy and using the power of the mind, the power of thought, to transmute that energy into its positive energy and allow it to heal you. Rich is a very unusual person. I consider him one of the masters who walks upon this earth because he has never known fear in this lifetime. Even though he was on the front lines of the Korean War, he does not see through that illusion, and he sees through different eyes, and he is able to convey that message, and he has conveyed that message using his 3 books. The first one I co-authored with him, which tells our stories and gives you tools and techniques in understanding the electromagnetic body and how the electromagnetic body works so that you can start going forward instead of staying in neutral or reverse, and teaches you this art, this spiritual alchemy that you all contain. You were born with it. It's called simply Awaken to the Healer Within, and it teaches the simplicity of healing. His second book is called God, This is a Good Book. It is about empowerment. It's cute, adorable, short stories that tickle the heart and the soul. You can read one in a few minutes, and you will never see your life or your world the same again. You will change your perspective of the world around you, and that changes you. And without realizing it, you become empowered. His third book is the sequel to Awaken to the Healer Within, and it's called Proclamations of the Soul, which goes far beyond into healing everything that you have ever had fragmented or damaged or in any way altered through any part of the journey of your soul. And in addition, allows you to reclaim your identity as your soul self. It's just one of the most marvelous books. I have many people who carry this around saying, this is next to my Bible on my nightstand. This is it. This is my Bible. He uses the power of the word from the understanding that Jesus never said, ask and you shall receive. That was a misinterpretation from the Aramaic. If you go back into the Aramaic, the words were proclaim it and it shall be yours. Coming from an empowered place, the power of prayer, many people are now understanding the power of the word and the power of prayer according to the way it was taught 2,000 years ago, adulterated up until now, and bringing that understanding back. A proclamation moves you into an empowered state, claims that it's coming from the God within you, the God essence, the spark of life, the spark of God, however you see or perceive that. We call it the divine love that flows within. And the reason we call it that is because sometimes the word God is a trigger for those that have been mind controlled. They cannot tolerate that word. As Cisco Wheeler talked to you this morning, she couldn't tolerate that word, so we just say the divine love. A proclamation acknowledges that which does not bring you joy, states the way you want it to look, and how you want it to happen. in happiness and joy and in harmony for all. And as you read through the book Proclamations of the Soul, you will truly understand the power of the words that Rich has put together. When he finished this book, he was told that he has completed his soul mission for coming to the earth in this lifetime. Now we just play. But Rich had to learn his lessons as well. He has embodied cancer, triple bypass surgery that failed in 30 months, chronic asthmatic, malaria, asbestos poisoning, chronic fatigue syndrome, mercury poisoning, just to name a few. I think he's a slow learner. How about you? But he finally got it. He figured out the simplicity of healing as he worked with his own body. And this incredible young man not only believes in reversing the disease and degeneration process, but he also believes in reversing the aging process. But in addition to that, with his knowledge, he works with mind-controlled people in claiming their sovereignty. He is what is known as a deprogrammer. And he works in walking many people out of the mind control program and bringing themselves into their true identity and reclaiming their gifts so that they can share it with the world. And with that, I want to introduce to you this very young man who has walked on the face of this earth 72 years.
Allow me to open by sharing a message that I share at the beginning of all my talks. And that is, if you do anything because I suggested it, you've done it wrong. If you do it because your doctor suggested it, you've done it absolutely wrong. Yes, listen to your doctor. Yes, listen to Rich work. Then do the most important thing of all. Talk to the people. Read the material that's available. And if it feels right, no, I didn't say think right. I said if it feels right and it continues to feel right, then it is right for you. Your eyes want to believe what they... Hello? Your eyes want to believe what they see. Your ears want to believe what they hear. Your heart can neither see nor can it hear. It just knows. It is time to listen with your heart. There are many who would like to tell you what your truth is, and if you allow them, they will. By a show of hands, how many of you would like to be well, whole, and perfect in mind, body, and soul? I thought so. Next question. How many of you are prepared to be responsible for the healing you are calling forth? Yes, there is a responsibility to that. The two subjects that I'm going to share with you today, am I cutting in and out on this mic? Okay. The two subjects I'm going to be sharing with you today are old subjects. And it's time to bring a conclusion to these subjects and offer you the solutions. It is dealing with mind control and chemtrails. How many of you know that we are on a very fast spiraling pace of changing the energy on this planet? I am cutting out. Okay. All right. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that everybody's stuff is coming up to be faced, to be dealt with, and you have a choice. You can deal with it or not. That is your choice. Mind control is an old subject. I'm not going to sit and dwell very long on mind control. I can tell you stories that'll make you very uncomfortable. And people have told you there's plenty of material out there. You've had enough messengers come forth and share the messages. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on that subject other than make a few points to bring it to a conclusion. By now, most of you understand the law of magnetic attraction. You attract to you that which you desire. You also attract to you that which you do not desire if you focus on it. If all you can think about is Aunt Tilly had cancer, Uncle Ned had cancer, boy, the last thing in the world I want to have is cancer, the only thing your universe of 100 trillion cells hears is a vibration, a frequency, a thought form, a negative thought form we call cancer. And by the universal law of magnetic attraction, it will attract to you that which you do not desire. You want more crime? Focus on crime. You want more drugs? Focus on drugs. You want more mind control? Let's sit and regurgitate that subject as well. We will simply draw it back into our life. How many of you are prepared to let this subject go and move on in life? Thank you. And that's what I bring you today. For the past 3 years, 75% of my clients have been mind controlled, mostly MK Ultra. All of my work is about the simplicity of healing. I do not see anything as difficult or long term. My journey had begun with my own health issues. Show me the simplicity of healing, and it must have a beginning, a middle, and end, and a purpose. It is time to put an end out of making a career out of healing our being. Let's get this behind us and get on with the celebration of life. And with that, one at a time, my teachers came forth and said, this is my challenge, how will you assist me? And I had to create a tool, the most powerful tool of all, the power of thought, a proclamation to assist them in their healing. And then the next teacher came forth and says, this is my challenge, how will you assist me? And this is how my work has unfolded. I never created one proclamation without first a teacher coming forth. Some of those teachers have been in body, some without a body, some called the planet Earth. Very many interesting teachers. But I never tried to change anything with first somebody asking assistance from myself. I just want to make a few final points on mind control. It has been acknowledged on several occasions that there are no less than 2 million MK Ultra mind control slaves. How many of you in here understand the term I just said? Okay, and if you don't, talk to the ones that raised their hand. I'm not going to spend the time. They'll steer you on some books and get you up to date on that. I consider that, for the lack of a better definition, misinformation. I believe that figure is much, much higher. And to say to you that the Jewish religion is the only religion would not be a truth. It is only a religion. And for me to tell you that MK Ultra is the only mind control would also be a mistake. It is only one of many forms of mind control that's practiced here on Earth. I estimate that there are probably no less than 46 million mind-controlled slaves in the United States alone. That's 1 in 7. Mind control did not happen in this lifetime. It didn't begin in the last lifetime. It began at the beginning of time, when a few chose to want to control and manipulate the minds of the masses. It has been going on throughout the journey of the soul in this game called separation from creation. The Inquisitions was a form of mind control. I'm going to torture you until you give me the answers you want. As long as you give me the answers you want, I'll leave you alone. But if you don't, we'll go through this whole thing again. How many of you brought that along in your past lives? Issues, emotions, traumas that you had to deal with in this lifetime. At the beginning of time, we started out with a big litter bag. Everybody was given a litter bag. And we went through our lifetimes collecting our genetic frequencies, our emotional frequencies, our chemical frequencies, and our trauma frequencies. We've come to a point in the evolution of the soul right now that the universe says, your litter bag looks like it's getting very full. What do you want to do with it? And the tools are being forth to assist us in transmuting that out of our energy field forever. How many of you believe the day is going to come when there will be no disease on this planet? Then it shouldn't surprise any of you that the tools are being birthed forth on this planet to assist you in that healing. Don't stand back in awe. How many people stood before Jesus and says, can't be that easy. Let's don't do it all over again. We have a choice, and I honor your choice, whatever that choice may be. I'm not here to save anyone. I'm here as a messenger. I'll share my message. Those that are ready for it, fine. If you're not, that's okay too. I mentioned there was probably 46 million mind-controlled slaves in this country alone. But understand, this is global. But we must understand that we were raised in a society that was bent on mind control. You cannot pick up the newspaper, you cannot turn on the TV, you cannot listen to music, you cannot watch a movie somewhere along the way that you are not being inundated with mind control triggers and programming. Mind control is not a game. It is the only game. Think on that one for a moment. And so it's time to put this to bed and to move on. Understand that everything I'm talking about today has nothing to do with mind control. It has nothing to do with chemtrails. It has everything to do whether humanity as a species is going to survive on this planet. whether they're going to wake up and become empowered and take responsibility for their creation, for this creation and that creation which we have created. If you're not prepared to be responsible for the planet and the healing you're calling forth, stop complaining about the way this world is being run. You have no right to complain. But you do have a right to stand up and become empowered, and that's what I'm bringing and to share with you today. Can you live with a mind-controlled person and not know it? Oh, yes. I've been there. 6 years. Many's the time I said, I wish I would just wake up one day with the same girl I went to bed with. Is it possible to be mind-controlled and not know it? Absolutely. The first program that goes in is to deny that you're mind-controlled. In fact, you might even become very emphatic about it. Don't tell me I'm mind-controlled. If I were mind-controlled, I would know it. No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't have a clue. You work in the altars, you can go over and be an assassin, you can be a sex slave, you can be a computer, you can be many things that they program you for. You can jump into that altar, do whatever you do, flip back into your main altar, go under a lie detector test, and pass it in total denial that you ever did it. And pass. Because the front altar never knows and recognizes anything else the others are doing. It's not a question of right or wrong. It's simply understanding the game that's been played. And it's time to put an end to that game. If you'd be kind enough to reach into your packet that was passed out, you will find a sheet that's called Controlling Energies. If you don't have them, raise your hand. We'll see that you get them. Will you please turn the lights on in the back? Everyone in the back should also have one of these. Please pull them out. I want you all to join with me on this. Sam, there's several over here. Sam, there's several up front here. It's called Controlling Energies. This is a proclamation that will assist you in breaking free of mind control, including MK Ultra mind control. As we read through it together, you'll begin to see the power within the words that we have chosen here. Words are very, very specific. They have a very specific intent. And what I'd like to do now, how many of you understand that thought is the most powerful energy in the universe? It is because of that we've chosen prayer as the most powerful tool of all. But to understand that every thought that you think and every word that you utter is a prayer that resonates throughout your universe of 100 trillion cells who are patiently waiting for your next command. And you are the commander-in-chief, and you're giving a command all day long. And what's that command going to be? I'm so sick of this job I could just die? If so, 100 trillion cells say, come on guys, let's wrap things up. I guess the boss wants out of here. Or is it going to be, it is my desire to be well, whole, and perfect in mind, body, and soul? In that case, 100 trillion cells say, come on guys, let's get busy. We're going on a grand adventure. I invite you now to go on a grand adventure. I believe most hands went up. Let's affirm that to ourselves. It is my desire to be well, whole, and perfect of mind, body, and soul. And so it is. I'm going to invite you to read these along with me, if you'd be kind enough. It's your free will choice. You can, or choose not to. Shall we begin? I proclaim that my life is my own. I close all windows, portals, and doorways that would allow another to view, witness, or manipulate my life. As far as those energies extend, I choose to be well, whole, and perfect of mind, body, and soul. Pause just a moment. That opening statement, how many of you are familiar with remote viewing? You have just closed the doors for anyone to remote view you. From this moment on, they can no longer remote view this session. I encourage you to use that first paragraph often whenever you want privacy in your life, because they have the ability to remote view you anytime, anywhere, until you close the doors and windows. Let's continue on. I command that this reflect through all time and space and beyond, between time and space, and through all dimensions. I call forth all controlling and evasive energies I have experienced throughout the journey of my soul, and all those connected to these energies. It is my intent that all aspects of their being and all aspects of my being be present. I call forth the nucleus of the soul on all levels of consciousness to be present and accept this healing. I call forth all soul expressions, elementals, and thought forms to stand before me as I stand before you in love. I ask that you forgive and honor me. I forgive and honor you. I embrace you in love, and I thank you for the lessons we have shared. I now choose to embrace all bonds between us into unconditional love. Whatever laws I have owned, whatever beliefs I have made, whatever vows I have taken, whatever invocations I may hold, whatever contracts and agreements I have made, and those that I have made them with, that have allowed distortions, illusions, images, holograms, symbols, and psychic messages that prevent me from experiencing rest within my being, I now transmute into the divine expression of creative love. I command that all thought forms, energies, programs, or substance that have been administered or that I have created on all levels of my being, forming separation, distortion, illness, or illusion within my being, now be transmuted into the divine expression of creative love. I call forth the totality of my being to be present and accept this healing. I command that all personalities and aspects of my being now return to me to be integrated into my oneness, aligning with my divine truth. I acknowledge the journey we have shared. I command all programming that has taken place on all levels of consciousness, with or without my permission, that interferes with my ability to experience my wholeness, now be instantly reversed in its perfect sequential order, allowing my core essence to be expressed according to my heart's desire, in a manner that brings me happiness and joy on all levels of my being. I command that my cellular memory, my tissues, and all aspects of my being now reconnect, integrate, and align with my core essence throughout all levels of consciousness. I command that all energy forms on all levels of consciousness, past, present, and future, that create a response in my being that is out of alignment with the essence of my soul and divine truth, be transmuted into the divine essence of creative love and return to its creator source to be a positive, productive energy. Wherever thought forms or energies I own on all levels of consciousness that encourage, cause harm, or destruction to my being, I return to its creator source. All residues I hold within my being, I transmute into the divine expression of creative love to become a powerful, positive, productive energy. I command that any energy that alters or limits my ability to freely connect my mind, body, and soul and the divine essence of my being now be repaired, realigned, and or created in its perfect sequential order to allow me to access that which I desire. I acknowledge the gifts I have received. I call them forth so I may see them and choose to use them according to my free will choice. I proclaim my power and sovereignty. I proclaim my free will choice. I proclaim dominion over my mind, body, and soul. I have grown. I am empowered. I stand in my truth. I acknowledge all those that have shared this experience. I offer you the healing I have received. I bid you to go in peace. I proclaim my peace of mind and the peace of mind for all humankind. And so it is. As you look on the top, just underneath the title, it says, repeat this often. I'm going to suggest you repeat it once a day, and the supporting proclamations on the back of this form once a day for 90 days. Mind control is not simply breaking through a layer. That just exposes another layer. There are many, many, many layers that have been created. You need to continually break through these until there are no more residues left to where, like other people we have talked about today, can stand right in front of a programmer and not be triggered. There are no residues left in your energy field, and that is possible. There's a couple of tools that we'll briefly talked about, and we'll talk about more tonight in our workshop or back at the table, that assist us in this deprogramming as well. You have the key program right there. It'll work for anyone. The next subject, our favorite subject called chemtrails. I became aware of chemtrails from a lady in Lake Tahoe probably 7 years ago when they began dumping chemtrails over Lake Tahoe, and they've been doing it nonstop ever since. How many of you are not aware of chemtrails? Are not aware of chemtrails? Just one or two, and I'm not going to go into. You have an article in there that will briefly cover some of the chemtrail. I'm not going to regurgitate that right now. I want to get to finalizing this so you understand. But very basically, this program began 7 to 8 years ago, and the last 3 to 4 years, it has become intensive. Planes flying, dropping stuff, people going up, getting samples, trying to take samples off their house, their cat, their dog, their cells, and trying to have it analyzed. And one thing seems to come up on the bottom line. It all doesn't make sense. If they're going to use it for population control, they could have contaminated our water and our food and got rid of us a long time ago. So why all the extra effort, not only going on here, it's going on all around the world. In Ireland and Australia, you can't name a country it hasn't gone on in. So what is the agenda? If you think it's the military agenda, look further. If you think it's the Illuminati agenda, you might be wrong. I'm going to suggest there are several agendas that are piggybacked together in the chemtrail thing. It's not a one agenda type thing, but I'm going to suggest a couple of them as I get on in my explanation here. We've been aware of chemtrails, followed it, read the articles, read the email, and about May, we were in Kentucky when we were made keenly aware of the fact that many of the horse stables there had not had the birth of a successful foal this year, and that they were coming out either dead or would die within 30 days. And when we were there, it also came up that even adult horses were now dying. They tried to blame it on a worm, a caterpillar, different things. They finally got around to the fact there is a fungus in the Kentucky bluegrass because there has been a drought there, which created bluegrass. All of these are partial truths. None of them are exactly right. The fact is that the chemtrails was mutating a natural virus that has been here co-creating with us all along, that is responsible for helping us hold an energy matrix by which we can give birth. Everything we do has an energy matrix, correct? And so this matrix could no longer hold its integrity, so therefore the birth couldn't complete its formal birth, and they would just be born dead. We realized at that time it had the potential of affecting humanity exactly the same way. We then began working on a proclamation to begin to transmute what we see and had seen at that point that was going on. In very, very quick succession, in just the last few weeks, this is how recent it is, most of this took place in the last 30 days. In rapid succession, things were coming up to alert us to what the bigger picture was. We did a program where we had multiple speakers in Pennsylvania just a few weeks ago. And during that, one gentleman was showing slides, and he was showing slides of objects that had been taken with special photographic equipment, dark shadow, blobs, globs, whatever it was, and they couldn't identify what it was, but it's in the atmosphere, it's in the air, it's all around, it's even in the rooms. They couldn't put a name to this, and we're watching this with interest. And later we attended another session in which this lady at the end of her program took everyone through a guided meditation in which she says, open your heart, open your crown chakra. And when she said, open your crown chakra, we saw this shadow go into everybody's body. Simultaneously, their soul kicked out of their body, an energy matrix was created by which the mind could no longer communicate with the soul or your highest consciousness. And Anne-Marie said, what have we just seen? It's the same stuff we saw in the photographs. What is it? She traced and retrieved and came up with this word, ectoplasm. If you look in the dictionary, ectoplasm is a thin membrane around every cell of living tissue. Ectoplasm is the material that exists by which people without a body, entities, can make themselves more dense, and so you can now see the ghosts. That's how we see ghosts. Ectoplasm is in our atmosphere. It is the good guy. It has been here co-creating with us since the beginning of time. We realized that something was amiss. We began working harder on our proclamations. Almost immediately after that, a lady that Anne-Marie and I know very intimately decided suddenly she had to go to Denver, of all places, on a vacation, the least likely place she thought she would be drawn to go to. But you know how the bait and switch thing goes. What do we have to do to get you there? Now you're there with us, you know what you're here for, right? You've all been there. And she got out of the plane, she and her boyfriend, they're walking down the streets of Denver. And as they're walking down the streets, everybody they passed glared at them. She says, she called up Anne-Marie and she said, Anne-Marie, you know I have no fear. But I felt, and we felt, we were in intimate danger with everyone we passed of being physically attacked. And after a couple hours of that, we said, the heck with this. We drove back to the airport, got on a plane, and went home. Anne-Marie says, we just had another messenger bring us another piece of the puzzle. Let's find out what's going on. So she went and traced and retrieved and remote viewed as to what was going on within the bodies here in Denver. And she found that they were all robotic. They were all full of ectoplasm. She said, my God, the same stuff we just witnessed in Pennsylvania. What in the world is going on? We then knew we had to very quickly, there was a timetable that was counting down. We didn't know how it was all coming together, but we had to get this proclamation out to reach critical mass. How many understand what critical mass is? I say it's when the politician says, if we can just get 15% of the people to vote for this issue, we can get it passed because the other 85% are undecided. Critical mass, when 144,000 people focus on a positive thought form, you create a harmonica light that now goes into universal consciousness and becomes your reality. And so we knew that we had to get this proclamation out, whatever the agenda was going on. Remember, as soon as this proclamation goes out, it's in universal consciousness. People out here know it exists. And so we knew that we had to keep this absolutely secret, get it together. We called key people. We said we're going to send out hundreds of emails simultaneously. When you get them, immediately send them out to your email list. We have to reach critical mass for whatever is going on with this ectoplasm, creating the horse problem, creating whatever this robotic thing is we're seeing. Right after that, guess what happened? A movie came out called AI, Artificial Intelligence. We were compelled to go to see Artificial Intelligence opening day. We sat there as we saw the programming in the movie, total mind control movie, threw everybody's atlas out, soul went out of the body, ectoplasm came in, and the rest was simply a sequence of mind control. Everybody walked out a robot. We went, my God. And so with that, we began to do more work. Mostly, I was working on what I work on. Anne-Marie was doing her remote viewing. She went back to Denver and she said, what in the world is this that's going on in Denver? And she said, where is it coming from? And she went to an underground plant that is located between Denver and Colorado Springs, a huge underground facility in which they have huge tanks growing artificially ectoplasm. Big mega computers by which they were programming this like a computer chip. So when it came into the body, it would take over and make the body robotic. Then with the mega computers, they could at will by the same form of thought, you might say, by radionics, they could program you individually or program millions with the stroke of a button. And we'd have a totally robotic society. We got our proclamation out 2 days after AI. 2 days after AI, it reached thousands of people. The next day, Anne Marie was urged to remote view on this plant here south of Denver. And she watched the person that was in charge of the operation and was watching him, and he could feel the pressure of something that was counteracting his project. He didn't know it was a proclamation. He could just feel the counter energy that was trying to work against whatever he was intending to do. And he felt the urgency to move his date up. The date had been set out for 2 weeks after the movie to push the button to download the programming, because by that time, millions and millions of people would have seen the movie. And so now we would create a robotic society. He felt the urgency, and he decided to move it up to midnight that night, just 8 hours away. And suddenly the universe held its breath, said, oh my God, this was not expected. And the urgency came out and said, Anne Marie, stay there and hold the light. Hold the light. And in the middle of writing his message, his directive to move this up, he had a heart attack and died. The power of thought, the power of collective consciousness, the power of light coming in to a program that was holding so much darkness he could not hold that. It created such an electrical overload in his system. He had a heart attack and he died. The number 2 man came in and so found him dead. He looked at the notes, tried to interpret what he was trying to write, believed that they had been discovered. Now, this was not the Illuminati. This was a group that was trying to overthrow the Illuminati and take control of this planet. So don't blame the Illuminati on this one. Thinking they had been discovered and fearing retaliation from the Illuminati, in his fear, he picked up a gun. At the same time, he reached over and pushed a self-destruct button to implode the plant and shot himself. That plant no longer exists. The mega computers no longer exist. I have just told you a story that you can't validate and will never be on the 5 o'clock news. Nobody's going to fess up to this one. But the information's out in the universal consciousness, and for anyone that wants to go out and validate it, I invite you. It's there. With this understanding, the program that would perpetuate chemtrails and the robotic society became history. But now we were left with another problem. We had ectoplasm in 95% of the population on the planet. You got the ectoplasm from the air. It's in your water supply. This is not a good time to go swimming in your pool or in the lakes. It's loaded with ectoplasm. There was also a chemical that was piggybacked in there that acted like a mercury compound, which would allow this ectoplasm to be pulled into the body instantly upon contact. It's in your food chain. You can no longer go and pick water and food off the shelf as you did in the past, just assume because of the labeling that it's the same thing. It is not. We have back at our table, we went down to Office Depot and we got a case of 24 of these. We flew in, we didn't have water, so we got 24 of these. Anne Marie's looking at this whole stack of theirs with her sight, and she's looking, and she says, this case down here. Now, you should have seen the clerks when I was unpiling this whole stack to get this case of water down there. They thought, well, I had lost it for sure. She pulled it out, and Anne Marie looked at it and says, they're all pretty good, not perfect. We can transmute them. But one, I can't even put my hands on. We have it back at the table. We invite you to come back and feel the difference between one that is loaded with ectoplasm and one that only has a slight amount of ectoplasm. We have the tools to transmute the ectoplasm. In your packet, you were also received a sheet, Suggested Harmonic Wellness Program for Chemtrails, to transmute your water, your food, and to transmute the ectoplasm out of your body. We're going to do some proclamations to transmute a majority of this. However, we're going to be living for probably another 2 years in an environment that is loaded with this artificially programmed ectoplasm. When Anne-Marie began to communicate with the ectoplasm, it says we are not happy with being misused the way we have been. We have been here in co-creation with humanity since the beginning of time. Destroy us or change us back to our original form. But don't let us continue to live like this. And so with that, I would like to invite you to share the chemtrail article. Turn it over until you find the proclamation called Chemtrails. I invite you to read along with me. This is the one we put out on email, all three of these. As you're getting your place, I want to point out that it is my belief that within 24 months, we will have good critical mass on controlling energies. That suddenly everybody's going to wake up and walk out of the dream state and discover the world they're living in. That's how close we are to critical mass. We've been working on this for some time. I believe we're already 75% there. I also believe it may take a little time before we hit critical mass. There's different levels of critical mass. We've reached the critical mass where you can go into AI movie and not be triggered. It may bring up all emotions, a lot of these type of things, but we've reached critical mass on several levels, but we now have to clean up the planet from this. They're going to continue to move and distribute these chemtrails until they remove their stockpiles. I'll comment just more on that in a moment. Would you be kind enough to repeat with me? From the divine love within my being, I am one with creation on all levels of consciousness. I call forth all energies connected to chemtrails, interfering with my free will choice and the free will choice of humanity, and all life form co-creating with humanity. I diffuse and render inactive all programming connected to chemtrails in perfect sequential order on all levels of consciousness. I command all energies involved with chemtrails, as far as those energies extend, be transmuted into the divine expression of creative love and be returned to Creator Source to be used only as a positive, productive energy. I command all tissues in my body and aspects of my being that have damaged chemtrails, interfering with my ability to experience my divine perfection, whether it has been created with or without my permission, now be restored to divine perfection. I command that all damage created by chemtrails to all life form living in co-creation with humanity upon the planet Earth, interfering with my ability to experience their perfected state of being, now be restored to divine perfection in a manner that will restore peace, joy, and harmony upon the earth. And so it is. Let's continue. From the divine love within my being, I am one with creation on all levels of consciousness. I command this proclamation reflect through all time and space and beyond, and on all levels of consciousness. I call forth all individuals and factions of beings, regardless of name, rank, and title, that harbor the intent or have initiated the process to enslave humanity on any level of consciousness. I command a cease to all such activities. I command this intent and process, plus all activities that have been put into motion, be transmuted into the divine expression of creative love and returned to Creator Source, to be used only as a positive, productive energy in co-creation with humanity. I command all energies that have been used with or without my permission to create and perpetuate artificial intelligence in a manner that violates the free will choice of humanity and those life forms co-creating with humanity, be reversed in perfect sequential order and be restored to a state that is in harmony with humanity and all life form upon and within the planet Earth. I call forth all individuals that have been compromised by this effort to be enslaved or rendered less than human, and the totality of their soul to integrate in divine perfection, while at the same time the artificial intelligence and programming be removed synchronistically, one replacing the other in perfect harmony, in a manner that will bring joy and peace to all humanity. I call forth each individual within humanity to speak as one in voice, one in consciousness, one in intent, as humanity declares its independence as a sovereign species, claiming responsibility for its actions and dominion over its creation. I call forth individual beings to stand before me as I stand before you in love. I now offer you this proclamation to accept or reject according to your free will choice. Go in peace, and so it is. Let's continue to the next page. There's one more. A declaration for humanity. As a spokesman for humanity, I choose to walk through the veils of illusion. I will no longer live in a world that distorts my truth. I will no longer allow another life form to manipulate, violate, or coerce my efforts, to exercise my free will, or experience my divine truth. I claim my free will and my sovereignty. I call forth my energies that have been blocked, distorted, or manipulated in an effort to control my life, my world, or my creations in any form, on any level of consciousness, and transmute them into the divine expression of creative love. I stand empowered. I choose to experience my divine expression. I claim responsibility for my world, my creation, and my choices. I call for all individuals within humanity who hold this vision to stand as one in voice, one in mind, and one in intent, to be well, whole, and perfect in mind, body, and soul. And now, as one in consciousness, I dissolve the veils of illusion and transmute them into the divine expression of creative love and return them to Creator Source, to be used only in the divine expression of creative love. I command this take place in a harmonious sequence for all life form co-creating with humanity. I claim my spiritual truth as I honor all others, as I honor myself, in my words, deeds, and actions. I am the divine expression of creative love. I am whole, and so it is. Take a deep breath and let it go. We invite you to go to our website under New News and to pull these proclamations down and to email them to all who you think might be interested. Don't violate other people's free will choice, but those you feel would be interested, share this with them as well. Remember, 95% of humanity is in the same boat. You don't have to look around to see who's got the problem. Look in the mirror. The proclamations are designed to transmute the ectoplasm within you, to reconnect the mind-body, pulls the soul back into the body. But as you drink water that has ectoplasm in it, or you eat food, you go through the same thing again. So it's important you learn to use the tools that are available to transmute your water, to transmute your food, so you're not continually pulling it into your body. Just the day before, where to go? I got on the plane to come to Denver. I received an email from the same lady 7 years ago who alerted me to the chemtrail problem. She says, I am so grateful. Since I did your clean air affirmation, there has not been a single other spraying here. Before that, we were having over 50 chemtrails over Lake Tahoe almost daily. Are you getting similar responses from other places? Yes, we are. They are diminishing rapidly. An occasional chemtrail, maybe one or two planes, maybe several days in a row with none at all. Beautiful white puffy clouds. It is taking place. But as I said, they have to get rid of their stockpiles, and they'll continue that agenda until that's done. One of the problems, one of the programs, obviously, was to eliminate and accelerate the disease process and cull the herd, as we say. She continues, unfortunately, the lake feels almost too polluted now to swim in, and it is. I shower immediately after swimming, even though the groundwater may have a residue. If you are outdoors, and if you work outdoors, just being outdoors, and especially if it rains, it's just pulling the stuff out of the air and you're getting saturated with it, go take a shower as soon as you get home or before you go to bed. How about doing an all hands proclamation for clean water around the world and the earth too? Well, we're working on that, and we have the tools. We can discuss that back at the table. I'd like to share one of the tools in the limited time we have. How much time we have? 11 minutes. That Anne-Marie just didn't have time this morning, and these go so far beyond. At our workshop tonight, we will get more in depth, but at the workshop tonight, it's not about necessarily showing the tools. It is about declaring sovereignty from controlling energies, and what you've experienced here will go far, far beyond what we've shared here for 3 hours. It'll be 3 hours of magic. I invite you to share it with us. But Anne-Marie has created these tools. If you missed this morning, you'll have to get the definition of them later. But one of the things that has happened from chemtrails, it is eating up and consuming the oxygen on the planet. In 1998, oxygen was plummeting very quickly due to the ELF programs that were going on. We've been working on this and alerting the world here since 1998, and working with tools. We transmitted the ability to use the ELF stations to lower the oxygen on the planet, and we begin to rebuild the oxygen to a rather safe level. But with the oncoming in the recent weeks of chemtrails, it has been consuming the oxygen on the planet. Back in 1998, the oxygen actually got down to 13% atmospheric oxygen. Now, in World War II, we had 35% atmospheric oxygen, and carbon dating tells us we had as much as 50% way back somewhere in Lemuria, Atlanta, somewhere. The lower the oxygen level, the higher the disease rate. The higher the oxygen level, the lower the disease rate. It is a powerful healing tool in itself. And so with this understanding, we realize that at 15% atmospheric oxygen, you begin to smother. You burn off more oxygen than you can bring into your body, than you can replace. And many people were getting to a point where their cells were so suffocated, so depleted of oxygen, they had burned off the reserves. If you've ever been in a situation where you've had the breath knocked out of you so severely you thought you could never get your next breath, and you're and you need a jump start, it's like a battery that has a little bit of juice but not enough to crank start the engine. That's where most of our cells are at this point. With the recent weeks, and when I came to Denver, and I just tried to climb those stairs out there, and I found myself huffing and puffing. I said, my God, what is the oxygen level here? 8%. It is the lowest it's ever been in your lifetime here. It is below suffocation levels. That's why disease is accelerating. Think it's an accident? Nope. But we have the tools to change it. If the oxygen is not in the air, where are we going to get the oxygen to replace it? Interestingly enough, Anne-Marie realized she already had the tools in her arsenal here. We take the full body activators, we place them on a little box here just to raise them slightly. We then take the harmonic harmonizer, environmental harmonizer, and we place them around here in this manner. At Anne-Marie's talk, she passed out a sheet to you that gave you 3 different configurations. I'm doing configuration 1. The final step is to put on here a bottle of solid gold. This now, in very short time, you should begin to feel it is easier to breathe. This has raised the oxygen level approximately, in a very short period of time, to about 30 to 35% atmospheric oxygen level. These 2 long columns called full body activators contain the frequency of oxygen. The environmental harmonizer is magnifying the intensity of that to raise that oxygen level up, and it literally covers your property, your home. It's portable. You can take it to your motel room. You can take it to your office, wherever you may be going. The second configuration is we put a second set of full body activators on top of that. Set this back on top. It will now raise it to approximately 45%. That is for therapy. If you have an illness, or jump start and get moving faster, you can only be in this maybe for 30 to 45 minutes a day, because your body has to adjust into that. Then, the third configuration would be to take the second set that we have, we turn them at right angles, Then we place these. You're not going to feel this because I don't have that second set. But that's the third configuration on your sheet, and that now takes it to 65%. That is purely for therapy. You probably wouldn't want to stay in that more than a minute or so a day. It's for therapy to quick oxygen into your system to help for degenerative conditions. The reason for the solid gold is, while this creates the oxygen, okay. You go ahead and you can put them in place. The reason for the solid gold is it works with the physical body to work with the cellular tissue and the intelligence of the cells of the body to now begin to absorb the oxygen itself. If the cells are so depleted that they can't fend for themselves, doing all of this doesn't have much validity to it. We need to also activate the cells so that can do that too. Some of you who are energy sensitive should be able to understand what we're doing now. Thank you. We'll just put it back to the first one, and we'll leave it there for the balance of my talk. It's been quite a journey, the journey of the soul. All of you have been active players in that. You wouldn't be here today if you weren't. There's nothing special about Anna Marie and I. We could not be doing the work we are doing if you hadn't done the work you are doing. We only each carry a piece of the puzzle. We acknowledge that. It is the collective consciousness that will win this, not the individual effort of any single person. It has been an exciting journey. It is time to put all the drama and trauma behind us. It is time to move on into the celebration of life. The potential to reverse the aging process, the potential to eliminate the disease on this planet already exists here and now. If the herd gets too big, it's up to us to become creative and decide how we're going to do and how to work with that. There are ways, they will evolve as we put our minds to it, to recreate this beautiful planet into the Emerald Isle of the universe, the planet it used to be, the planet you all remember. I thank you for spending this time with me, and for those that come tonight, I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard. Thank you.